Hello. Today is embracing and alchemizing pain. I'm guiding a journey here today we're going to scan through the body, work with some pain. And Emily had the wonderful question on Facebook of like, if it's just emotional pain, physical pain. Yes. Also, I would add mental pain, but essentially any kind of pain is going to be showing up in the body. And so what I really like to acknowledge is that this is how we sense. This is our tool for sensing. And so even when we're being really mental or emotional or whatever other ways we might describe how we're being or what we're sensing, we can check back in and find it somewhere in the body. So I'm going to be guiding us to orient in space and in our body. We're gonna ease in. But before we do that, I would like to just check in with the people who are here if they'd like to share where they're at. Like I'd love to know where you are in physical space, and like what brought you here today. And any other little thing you'd like to share, just a quick check-in to kind of see where we're all at. And yeah, and you don't have to, but I'm going to go through and I think I'm going to call on you and you can decline if you don't want to. So Beth, if you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, I'm in South Wales in the UK. I've been watching different things that you do for quite some time and just kind of spontaneously jumped on when I saw your post this evening. It seemed to relate to, I'm holding some kind of emotional pain that has been hanging around for probably a year longer than I would have liked it to, that it just won't shift. So it just seemed really like the right thing to do, to jump on today.
Beautiful. Thank you. Danny and Emily, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I'll share. I feel like the last few years I've been really focusing on alchemizing the pain and such from my family, my separation from my family, and I'm actually feeling quite completed, but that always sounds like a scary thing to say because it feels like when you feel like you're complete, that's when something's really going to punch you, but I feel like I've worked through, but I love the word alchemization and I always love learning more about it. So that's partially why I'm here. And I've been in a joyfully conscious movement and meals group. So I've been moving my body more and noticing like my pain points, like between my shoulders and my hips from the movement. And I always feel like at the end they have breath work and I can feel like the emotional energy and the pain in my body. So I'm really interested to learn more.
Cool. Thank you. Danny, would you like to say anything?
For me, it's just, trying to learn something new, get more tools, I've not been too, I guess, involved in this journey. So just learning something new tools, better ways to deal with things.
Right on. Well, that's a strong place to come from. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Una?
Yeah, I jumped on a call with Saeri this week and a lot of sensation going on in my physical body and in the work I'm doing. And we've had a lot of snow here where I'm at in northern Utah. And in the last, like, I don't know what the time frame was, but my my sweat lodge collapsed under the weight of the snow. I was asking for a sign from my guides and looking for some direction on where to go. So yesterday I went and climbed through my sweat lodge that has collapsed, and it was really interesting how just my body was communicating with me so much about how much is going on. And it was really clear how much I haven't heard. And so I'm hoping today to really kind of clear up some of those lines of communication, and I'd love to hear what there is for me. So.
Beautiful. Thank you. Nova, love.
Thank you so much. Wow, it's so lovely getting to hear your guys' shares. Thank you for them. I feel like I resonate, you know. For me personally, it's like, I mean, I've been doing everything I possibly can with Saeri for the past year. So I couldn't imagine missing this, but also it just is so perfect for where I'm at in my life right now, just doing a lot of work, body work, with my own physical pain, and noticing the old emotional pains in there. So I'm really excited to see what Saeri brings to this topic now and add that to my repertoire of showing up for myself. Thank you, Saeri.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm excited to see what I come up with too. Oh, I really want to acknowledge each of you on this call. And, you know, for those of you watching the recording, we checked in to see if anybody minded being recorded in their share, and everybody was up for being recorded. And I really, I just want to acknowledge the gift in that, because I think we really, we grow and see ourselves so much when we get to hear that in another, and just having that that confirmation that it's like, oh, I'm not alone in this, you know, even though we're each doing our own work in our little units and bubbles, we are connected. And we were talking about that before the recording, how, you know, we just feel this this connection with groups of people. And my intention for, you know, hosting this call and the other things that I do is to bring us in so we can have that confirmation. You know, like there's all the stuff that goes on in the ether or the astral plane or whatever that we sense, and it's fun to like get those confirmations in material reality. And so this is to say, like, yes, we'd like to have that confirmation. So thank you, each of you on the call, for offering yourselves to be witnessed. And yeah, let's get started. Oh, actually, I want to share where I'm coming from today. So I'm in Eureka, California, and Humboldt County, in the redwoods and the weed is what we're known for here, right on the coast. And it's been really like downpour raining, which is like really common for this area. It's like usually like gray, but we actually have some sunlight coming through. You can see through my blinds. And I had a huge healing last year through a couple of ayahuasca ceremonies that I had planned for a year. And I'm not going to go into all that. I actually have done, I call them ceremony reports. I've done 2 of them. Well, one's I call an integration, like an integration lab or an integration report. But yeah, if you want to hear about that whole journey and what I did and what happened, you can watch those. They're on YouTube. Actually, there's one from Nova too, from her work with me in Clarity Journey. But just to say that, like, on a body level, it's been very like one of the metaphors I have for it is like, it's like I'm like an electric vehicle or something. And I had a gas motor in me too. And then it was removed because it wasn't really mine. and now I'm like, I have like these wires hanging, and like, it's like integrating that. And there are times, many times, where I go to like rely on that other motor that wasn't really mine anyway, and then it's just kind of like doesn't work. So yeah, it's been really interesting navigating that. Like, I see all the gifts coming through, but then there are these things that I'm like, wait, this worked. This used to work, and why isn't it working right now? And like the mental and emotional pain from that yesterday I had, I reached out to one of my colleagues, Craig Gore. He's an amazing coach. He's such a master, and he actually coached me on Messenger, just like in typing, and it was so beautiful because it's what I do for people, and I really needed it from somebody else, and it was like almost cute to see how just kind of like clueless I was for myself. And even like there were a couple points where I went to like write a little joke, and Craig was just like on me, like he wouldn't, like I couldn't even get my jokes in. He was just like so succinct in like keeping me and coming back to myself. That was his call to me. So and it gave me a lot of clarity about yeah, just freeing up and being available to do what I want to do, and just like trusting that works out in material reality. And so that's a huge integrative move for me, with that whole healing that I received. So all right, we're going to start with orienting in space, like in reality, as we can. That's really straightforward reality. So this is a practice that I have acquired from my friend and colleague, Amy Harris. She's another great coach and guide, or I don't know what she wants to call herself these days. We call her a sentry, maybe. She's a great space holder. So what we're going to do is we're going to look in each direction. So that's like the 4 directions this way, and then 2 more up and down. So 6 total. And you can just start with going forward. I'll describe it and then we'll get into it. So, you'll just let your eyes rest on something in your physical reality. So like right now I'm looking at a chip on the wood stand that my light is on. So I would just look at that, and I'm breathing, taking a breath or 2, and I'm just going to report in my head reality. And I would say I'm looking at the chip on the wood, and breathe. And then you let move your head in another direction, let your eyes rest on a thing, breathe, and report reality. So here we go. When you're complete, just face forward and keep breathing. Okay, now we're gonna come in closer to the body. So this one comes from my yoga mentor, and it's from she did a course, Yoga for Depression. And I love this one. This is a great one to do. Yeah, if you're ever kind of spinning out and you catch yourself not in touch with reality, like getting up in that mental realm, which is like gonna not feel safe. So you're gonna take hand to opposite shoulder, and we're stroking from shoulder to fingertips, breathing, and mentally reporting reality. So inside your head, it would sound like, I see my arm. I'm touching my arm. There's my arm. And you can get, into other details like, I see the freckle on my knuckle. I feel my hand touching my skin. And so on. You just keep it simple and keep it real. And then I'll cue us to switch sides. So go ahead and begin. And switch sides. All right, and complete that and come back to center. Okay, for this next part, we're going to start looking and feeling inside more. And we're also going to connect consciously with the earth, with Gaia. You can have closed eyes. If you work with open-eyed meditation, you would know, but if you want to try that out, if it feels better to you to have your eyes open, you just want to keep your eyes still and not focusing on anything in particular. All right, so go ahead and close your eyes or soften your gaze. And let's just take some breaths to just feel. It might help to imagine that your breath, not just your inhales, but also your exhales, are like a gentle, light, illuminating sensation inside. And you might have different ways that you interpret and perceive sensation. You might get pictures and colors, pressure, movement, temperature, shape. And we don't have to zero in on anything right now. It's just kind of saying hello. I think of it like being hospitable with your body and your body with you. Welcoming your breath and feeling the welcome of your breath. I think breath is like the definition of abundance. It's the manifestation of abundance. And let's take a breath or two or four to just connect with the consciousness of the air itself. Here, ready, willing to create with you, animating you. Oh yeah, I really feel you all dropping into that. What is it? What's the sensation of being alive that's been here with you since you first got on this planet, even as a little, zygote embryo? since you were first catalyzed and activated. What is that sensation? All right, let's acknowledge the mother of matter, Earth, Gaia, this planet. One of my Facebook friends had asked this question about people who, you know, like with this philosophy or view of like being one with the earth, and then, you know, artificial things. And my answer was like, everything here, everything is of this earth. Every cell, every piece of garbage. It's all of this earth. And I think we can get really narrowed in judgmental of ourselves. And this view of humanity as being this like blight on the planet. We are the earth's children. There's this vision that my Reiki teacher, Colleen Benelli, shared with me when I was training in Reiki. And she said that the earth showed her that it showed her trees, like a forest, and it showed her cities. And it was like, I'm so proud of all of this. Like, oh, look at what my children made. They made these tall towers. All right, so we'll start with a hello to the heart of the planet. So you just project some consciousness into the heart of the earth, the crystalline core, and just say hello. The other perspective I had to share on that Facebook post about the earth was like, we're one with the earth is an acknowledgement that the earth, that Gaia, our planet, is a conscious being. It's not just some rock that we're walking on. I mean, I see spirit in rocks. So to me, I'm like, just a rock? That's a person. I think you know what I mean. So feeling that as you say hello to Earth, to Gaia, feel that her hello back to you. Like she's right here, and she's always right here. It's like, you know, picking up the phone and calling your grandma. And she's real, you know, she's still alive. She's here on the planet. If she could pick up the phone, and, you know, even if she's not alive, you can connect with her. In fact, some people are easier to connect with when they're not in bodies anymore. And it's a great way to connect with the people who are still in bodies that you don't feel you can connect with. Their spirit is available still. I've been doing this with my own mother lately. Welcome, Casey. We're just connecting with the earth right now. All right, and we're gonna create a grounding cord. Now, if you have a certain way you like to do it, you're welcome to do it that way. This is how I'm gonna guide it today, is to tune into your root, the base of your spine, your pelvic floor, your hip and your leg bones. And you're going to have, your cord is going to encompass all of those things. So if you're sitting, that's going to be, you know, like a kind of circle oval. If you're lying down, you can just go ahead and make it your whole body, your whole back body. And then you're going to extend your cord, and you can create it as you go all the way down into the heart of the planet. And you want it to be attached to you and attached to her heart. And your cord can be whatever colors, whatever material you'd like to make them out of. It could be a tree trunk. It could be liquid light. It could be copper. There's like a year in psychic school that I just like to like knitting. I was like obsessed with knitting, and I would make like knitted grounding cords, which to my mind seemed really silly and flimsy, but it just felt so good. So that's what you're going for, is what feels supportive, what invokes the kind of energy and medicine that is just perfect for you today. Take a couple of breaths to just put the finishing touches on it. And it's come up a couple of times to say, like, you can ask the earth anything. You can talk to your grounding cord. You can talk to your root. So, you know, anywhere in this process, if you find yourself kind of fretting over some detail or other, you can just ask. And you can ask here too. You can ask me, you can ask this space if you like to. But to just notice that you can look for your own answers. And even though they're inside of you, sometimes it helps to just be like, you know, Earth, is this okay if I connect with you? I would say, like, you're always connected to the earth. I mean, that seems obvious, but there can be different kind of blocks and separations we put on ourselves. And then to just like project a question to the earth or to whatever can help just give you like some space to have it feel like it's coming back to you, the answer, the clarity. All right, beautiful. So I'm going to allow a little space here. If anybody would like to share what they're experiencing, you don't have to come out of the trance you're in to share. You might just kind of gently open your eyes and turn on your microphone. You don't have to. So if nobody does it, don't feel any pressure to do it. But just if you feel called to like acknowledge anything that you're noticing thus far, you're welcome to offer that for witness. Everybody's so yummily in it. Okay. Oh, yeah. So go ahead and internally just look around like you did in the room earlier. And what do you notice? You might find yourself in a landscape. Like, what is this inner landscape? What does it look like, feel like, sound like? How might it contrast where you have been, what you've been aware of prior to this call? Oh, I've got a really big hello to that. We're not in the new year right now. What's it, January 9th or something? The wheel of the year turns around the 22nd of January. And, you know, in human design, that's called the Rave New Year. And so, and my birthday was just a few days ago on the 4th. And so I'm very, very tuned into this time of year. And parties on January 1st have always felt off to me. Parties on my birthday feel off. I call this time of year the final scrub down. And there is something that happens, you know, the 1st of the year, the 4th of the year today, you know, it's just like each day is like, I don't know, I feel like they can get more and more potent, or like maybe these first couple of weeks of January, they're so potent, they're so packed. And when we're thinking that we're in a new place, and we're pressuring ourselves to be complete with things from last year, I'm putting that in quotes for those of you with your eyes closed, like it causes pain, because it's just, we can feel that's not quite true, and we're pushing ourselves to be in the future, which is not a safe place. And then we might even judge ourselves that we're in the past, because we're digesting, processing, thinking about, integrating things from the quotes past. And it just gets us out of our present moment. And that's all that pain is it's just like, hey, something's going on right here. It's just getting your attention for something. So I can feel this, like that little sermon about the new year, like kind of might have like a spiraling in effect for you, where it's like we were looking at the landscape as it's like kind of spreading out. And then now you might be like, ooh, like what is going on here? So let's go ahead and scan through the body and use your breath. Let your breath move your ribs and your belly and your pelvic floor and even your back. And as you're scanning through sensations, you might just do some little experiments, like can you move your low back with your breath? Can you, like, where can you expand your breath into? Can you get it into your pinky finger so that you feel a sensation on the inhale and the exhale when you focus on your pinky finger, your pinky toe, or the skin on the bottom of your foot? Can you feel even to like into the hairs on your arm? And I noticed the thought, like, Saeri, your hair's dead. I'm like, well, I also just said that rocks have spirit. So, I mean, my hairs are alive, connected to me, part of me. And this is just a gentle inventory, checking in with yourself, How about areas that, like, what's the sensation of where you might be numb, in shock? And you don't have to like dive in or slice into those areas, but just kind of like a gentle like caress on the edges of them to like even define the shape of them. Like, and you can give them a gentle hello that way, just like the earth, like, oh, hello. Oh, you're kind of like sleepy. Maybe feeling a little closed. And there may be some other words that are like more activating. Like, I mean, numb can be one of those words, like, oh, like I like might judge myself for saying the word numb. So maybe closed could be more neutral or unavailable. Yeah, so hello to any of those words. I had another one a second ago. Oh, shut down. And if it's not helping to use those words, just use another word or not a word. So let's take a few more breaths to just kind of keep it moving. If you might already be focusing on a certain area, we are going to do that in a little bit. But for now, just like what other areas can you bring online in your awareness? And then here's an idea to feel into. This is a picture I see often when I guide this work, and it's coming up. It's raising its hand right now. What if there's as much space inside of you as there is outside? If there are worlds upon worlds and universes extending out, what if that is just a projection of the depth of what's available to you internally? What if the mystery is just as great? Ooh. Ooh. I just got massive chills and tears just sprung into my eyes. And that reminded me that I'm here with each of you on the live call, and also anyone who's watching, and also anyone who's connected to each of us, who are consciously aware of what we're doing right now and what's happening. When you tune into yourself and you allow this awareness inside of you, that is what's happening. Like beyond what you can even imagine. And, what we identify with as external and other. Like you are plugged in to reality, way beyond what our culture has said is real. And I want to acknowledge you for this spiraling in that you did with what, is like, yeah, this, I'm touching this plant that's on my table right now. This plant is real. Like we could all agree on that, even if you're not here, I could show it to you on my video and you'd be like, yeah, okay, I can agree that's real. And you've spiraled in deeper and deeper to things that are not so easy to acknowledge from one to another. But in this space you're in right now, we can know what's real together, even though we're not with the other, or they're not reporting reality to us. And we go, well, what do I think? Is that real? Like this connectivity, this state is hyper reality, in my opinion. As much space inside as there is outside. What world inside of can you sense like a star or another planet twinkling, winking at you, wondering back? How you are. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, like how I wonder. It's what you are, but I'm also hearing how I wonder how you are. Like that question always kind of, I have like an auto closure around it when people ask me how I am. But right now I'm really enjoying this like expansion of what that means. Like, how are you? How are you? Like, how did you come to exist? Obviously, that question cannot be answered, but it can be felt into. It can be wondered about. What a gentle thing wondering is. It's the primary way I communicate with manifestors. I wonder. You don't need to put this into a point with a question, a fine point. We can just like spread it out. So let's just have a check-in with your grounding cord here, a little conscious check-in. And notice that it can still be there. And if there's any updates you'd like to make to it right now, or if you want to make a freshie, you can just, release it to the center of the planet. Like, when you release a tape measure and it just like, sucks it back down. And if you're like, but I like my own, I go, that's fine, keep it. And then go ahead and just invite it to be set it at automatic. So as we move forward in this journey, it's there. And you can check in with it anytime if that's helpful. Oh, I didn't go through this. Let's take some breaths to just notice how this connection can draw the foreign energy from your body. Feel the earth just welcoming that with gravity itself. And let it drain from you. Anything that's available to go, like there may be some hangers on and let's just assume that anything that's foreign, that's not going, is because it has something for you. It has a message for you. But anything else that's like not needed right now, you all have been really like beautifully doing this, by the way, already. But when you bring your awareness to it, then you can really go, oh my goodness. You can feel just like a waterfall of that release and the joyous release of it, how it is like, yippee, I get to go. I've been kind of stuck here. It's not just you that gets freed up. That energy itself gets freed up. And then it's returning to the heart of the mother, of the great mother here. And she's just got her arms open and she's like, yes, come back to me. And she'll, repurpose, redistribute, recreate with that energy to where it's 100%. It's 100% a match. And it frees you up on your trajectory of 100% as well. Like, we don't need to like hang on to one another if it's not like, if we're starting on a trajectory and something is kind of creating drag, like there's no the greatest love is to release for both you and whatever that drag is, whether it's a being or a memory, an energy of some kind, or something physical. I mean, it often is manifesting in one way or another physically. So all the components, here's a prayer. May all the components that are not presently aligned with your 100% trajectory for who you are and what you're creating right now, and what you're deeply desiring, may it just be released to its 100% trajectory. Knowing that you can't lose anything that's really yours. So it's safe to relax any holds you have. And let those things or whatever they are move. And the great beauty in this is that some of the, I'm going to just say like some of the people and spirits and energies that we've been attached to, when we do this, it gives them a chance to be freed up and to come back to us in a way that actually works for both of us. I'm not saying they will, and I'm not saying to like, maybe even like hope. But it's possible. It happens. And if it wants to happen, that may be its only chance. I saw this with my boyfriend the other night. Was talking about a relationship that was really frustrating and had a lot of pain around it. And then like the next day, that person called him and they had a wonderful conversation. And, through talking about it with me and his son, like it got freed up. He let go of some of his judgments and attachments around whatever he thought was happening, and even acknowledged that he didn't really know. And then they called. And I'm getting a hello about boundaries right now too, because, when we're trying to create boundaries, sometimes we're just creating blocks, and that can be really appropriate. Sometimes like that might be all we're capable of. And then after having a block for a while, you might notice you have a little space to, soften that and let the edge of you be a little more flexible and soft, and let a little more information in about whatever other you're protecting yourself from. And it's just a maybe, like you don't have to do anything. What I've been finding about boundaries is that a lot of times I'm not like, I don't even know I have one until it's crossed. And so that's a gift of awareness to go, oh, there, I have an edge there. There's like, there's a perimeter to my being that, I've been unconscious of, and that means that like maybe we've been allowing ourselves to be violated. And then with the awareness and the allowing of whatever we need to do to take care of ourselves, like putting up a wall sometimes for a while, and then being like, okay, I think I can soften this now, maybe. We allow a broader spectrum of how we can relate to that energy or that person or whatever it is. And then, there might be these little miracles of insight or, things popping up in our material world that we just like never dreamed of or thought that we could really have. Like my relationship with one of my brothers and my sister. I had completely given up on like feeling close to anybody in my family. And my dad, I'll add my dad to that list. Yeah, my grandmother. All right, so let's check in. I'm going to say with your heart, but it could be something else in you. But I'm wondering if there's a question in your heart that's coming up right now. Just listening deep and gently. So maybe deep for you is kind of a more spread out, like a broad rather than a like, penetrating way. Like, is there a question here? Is there a fear? That was one of the really, oh my gosh, such a massive gift that Craig gave to me, is he asked me about my fear. And I said, I don't feel afraid. I don't feel scared at the moment. And he was like, because I had come to him saying like, I feel I'm in a pickle. And so he came back with my own words and he was like, and I heard you say you're in a right pickle. And then I went, oh, well, maybe I'm numb. Maybe I'm in shock. And he's like, okay. And just in a little inquiry and beginning to engage in the process, not with saying like, yes, you definitely have a fear, but just asking the question and then, moving forward in the conversation. So my conversation with Craig is like having a conversation with myself. Like that is the best guidance, by the way. So you can do this with yourself. And you can use me as the other here. So you can even like dialogue with my spirit internally on this journey to just like have that experience of an other. But a little ways into it, I went, oh yeah, I do feel, actually, you're right. I do feel afraid. I feel scared. Oh, okay. Well, let's give some voice to that. And, being like the masterful coach and guide that I am, when he invited me to say, tell him what it was, I found myself, I kept editing myself. So I just told him, I said, oh, he had asked me, is there sadness there? Or what do you feel? Maybe he said, what do you feel? And I was like, okay, I started to write. I was like, there's grief, there's sadness. And then I started to say, in my experience, this never goes away. And so it's just like, I'm going to have to, like, there's other things I want to experience. So, and I could have even gone into like, I'm non-emotional in human design. I amplify that. So I call this a bottomless well of emotion. And I know it's not actually going anywhere, and it's maybe not mine, and but I stopped and I said, okay, well, there's grief and sadness. Yes. And then anything else I try to say about it is I'm noticing his story. And he goes, great. Tell me the story. So right there, I think that probably was the source of my pain, because I would either like go down the rabbit hole of all the thoughts and try to figure it out, or I would go, this is story. And I would cut it off so that I couldn't like have like I wouldn't be able to like really have an inquiry with it and receive whatever message it was there for me. So again, we're just gently like wondering, like, is there a question? Is there fear here? And then breathe. And if you need to check in with your grounding core, go ahead and do that. Or if you need to like, brush your arm, that's available. But maybe open to the story and just as a witness, and the sensations. And I'm going to allow some time here with a reminder to inhale and exhale. And that you can feel, maybe you could feel whatever you're feeling. Could you let yourself feel it? Could you let yourself have it? Could you love yourself for it? Maybe you could. Maybe whatever it is loving you. And that's why you feel it. You just stay with your experience. So if you find yourself getting kind of tight and being like, I have to do this a certain way, like that's not what this is. If you start to feel uncomfortable, just go ahead and bring it in. Like, oh, hello. And as sensations come online, it's just like, can you embrace that too? Can you let yourself just feel it? You don't even have to do the thing of pulling it in and embracing it. You don't have to even love it right now. You don't have to do anything, but maybe just go, oh, okay, hello. I'm feeling this. Oh, I'm feeling it. That means I can. Oh, I am. Okay. I can I feel this? Can I be with this? Can I be with me with this? Can I breathe with this? Maybe I can breathe with this. What if I could? What if I am? I'm getting a picture of like learning to ride a bike, you know, like that moment when it's like, oh, I'm doing it. Or like in my flying dreams, it's like that. There used to be like a lot of effort when I'd have a flying dream, like I'd have to be running from something. And I would be like kind of like sometimes like literally like running into the air or like doing a big jump, you know. And then there's a moment where it's like, oh, I'm actually doing this right now. This is happening. And like early on when I would relax, I would drop, you know, and I'd have to like effort up again. But the more I practice, like I can just kind of, it's almost like I get swept into like a current. And then I would feel like kind of carried away sometimes, and I get kind of scared and I like want it to stop or come down, you know. And then I found like I actually have some like influence on where I go and how I move with that. Like when I relax into it, but I stay aware. Sometimes the fear can pull us out of the awareness because we're trying to like control it in like an external way. And if you feel that resonance with the idea that there's as much space inside as there is outside, well, then that would mean if you're trying to like affect something outside of yourself first, well, that's just a lot more work. When you have like all the fuel, all the, you know, all the gauges and knobs and dials and levers and all that inside of you. There's this show that I was that I watched, confession. And there was like this, it was like a magic kind of show. And there was this house that was like it was like a dollhouse model of the bigger house. And when it was activated, like whatever happened in that little house, like would happen in the big house. So like if you like a house spider got into the little house, then there was like a giant spider in the big house. It's kind of like that. And, you know, not to like scare yourself with that, but like, I mean, because obviously like a house spider, like being giant is terrifying, but but just to acknowledge like the power in that it's like, if there are all these like nuances inside of you that are amplified into your external reality, and they're, you know, if it's as mysterious as it is inside, like then like it's very mysterious how it might manifest in your life or in your physical sensations of your body. But this wondering and this acknowledgement of that power inside of you is how you can have some influence on how it manifests without going into control mode and, you know, getting tight. All right, so let's get more specific here. So I see I was in a little bit of a time warp, so we still have plenty of time to get specific. All right, so the invitation is to find one area in your body to work with that's raising its hand. And it may or may not be what you thought you'd work with coming into this call. It's just a gentle scan through and just trust yourself. You might have many areas that are raising their hand. And you can say, I'll work with you another time. And if you say that, you know, it may or may not feel good to say that to the spot. You might just be like, I'm going to work with another one today. Definitely don't want to set you up to like say, I will do something to yourself that you might not do. So you don't have to make any promises, but, you know, just we're working with one today. I'll say to my daughter sometimes, I'm just not available for that right now. Instead of like, oh, I will do it, or no, like, or I can't, which would be a lie. I'm just not available for that. This is what I'm doing right now. So go ahead and pick that spot. Ooh, you could also just give little blessings to the other ones, like, I bless you, I bless you, I bless you. I'm choosing this one today, because they're actually all networked anyway. So you'll actually like, you might get to all those other spots. I mean, it could happen with working with one. And then go ahead and say hello to it. Just a gentle hello. And similar to like we did with the earth, just, you know, open to how it responds back to you. And it might be pissed. It might have its little arms crossed. It might be just kind of like tired or non-responsive. Or it might be like, thank God. Hello. Thank you. So go ahead and say thank you to your area for getting your attention, however it did. You don't even have to know. Oh, thank you. Hello and thank you. I acknowledge you. And then check in with, so if your inquiring consciousness is like another being, like if it was like, let's say a wounded animal that you were approaching, your consciousness is you approaching the wounded animal. What is your proximity to it? So are you like right up on it? Are you like a mile away? And there's no right or wrong here. Just, you know, acknowledge the reality of your proximity to the spot. And then between the two of you, check in and see how that feels. Like if you're right up on it or even in it, it could be that it's like it's a little too close. It could be. Sometimes areas want that. And then also to check in with yourself of like, even if your spot might have kind of a needy vibe and it might want you to be right up in it, and that might, to your consciousness, that might not feel appropriate. So this is like a two-way street here. And between those two, find the appropriate distance to start with right now. And it might be farther away or closer than you thought. when I've guided manifestors in this often, it's like a lot farther than they thought. And they were just like, their consciousness was like violating their spots by being too close. And they just wanted more space. And then they both felt better. And they were really surprised that they could actually communicate from like, a mile away. And it hasn't just been with manifestors, but I've seen that's been a theme. And not to say that if you're a manifestor that you have to be really far from your spot. You can't fuck this up. So if at some point, like you realize you need a little more space, a little less space, you can adjust. All right, so find the good distance here. And then I have a suggestion to try on to create a bubble to represent that perimeter. That's pink vapor is what I work with, like a pink vapor bubble. And this could show up a little different for you. So just allow it to be however works for you. But the idea is that it's like a conductive field for communication with the area. So take a couple of breaths to create that for yourself in a way that works for you. Because you're going to be talking through it to your spot, like kind of like a walkie-talkie. And maybe a hello to your grounding cord. You're held here, literally by the earth. All right, so I'll make some suggestions for what to say to your area. You can edit it however works for you. So the first is say hello again, say thank you again. And then say, I'd like to ask you a question. And receive whatever information is coming from your spot. That might go, yeah, all right. Or it might be like, And whatever your spot says or vibrates, receive and say thank you. So I'm going to move on here. And again, you're welcome to navigate this. However, if you feel like your spot is just like really not open to it, you just be and breathe with it and just vibrate your wonder into it. And whatever else comes up that you might be able to say to it to just have more connection, because that's the point here. So the next suggestion is, okay, thank you for that. What would you like me to know? Why did you get my attention? And feel for just opening to receive this communication back, however it might show up for you. And it might not make sense to you in this moment, but let yourself be aware of it. So it could be a shift in sensation. It could be words. It could be a picture. It could be a memory. It could be a shape. It could be things I'm not mentioning or thinking of right now. But it is in your ability to receive this communication. It is a language that you have access to. And you can cultivate an understanding with and for. You might be new to understanding and speaking that language, but it is innate in you, I promise. So receive whatever that is. Even seeming silence and nothing can be something. And say thank you again. And then one more question. So let it know, okay, I have another question if you're open to that. And it might feel appropriate to say, is it okay if I ask you another question? Or it might just be that informing. Okay, thank you. Whatever answer you received, if you're proceeding, what do you need from me? If there's something you'd like to ask of me, I would like to know what it is. And now we're not making any promises about what you're going to do with this information. We're just asking to know what it is. And there might be further dialogue to have, or further inquiry with whatever you're receiving. But for now, just open to what's coming up. What do you need from me? Is there something that you would like to ask for? So I'm going to allow a few more breaths to soak up that data for yourself. To be with you. And then nice and easy, I invite you to transition your awareness to this call, the room you're in, who you're with. And I'd like to open the floor for any shares. I said we would go 90 minutes, and we can go over. If you need to leave, that's totally okay. But yeah, if anybody would like to share any part of that journey, any insights you had, anything that was interesting for you, the floor is open. And if you have any notes you want to take, or it can help to, if you're not in a way to write, to say what you found. That helps with the memory, but also this is recorded. So.
I can share if that pleases the court.
Permission granted. Okay.
I felt like as you were leading us into the trance space, I felt like so much of my body was just like falling away into like this like cosmos inside of me, right? And then there were these places that were just really rigidly holding, and those were the places where I feel pain in my body. And it came back again, connecting with the spot between my shoulder blades and back and up into my shoulders. I've been doing some work around that recently, and it just felt really rigid. And so, you know, I could feel that it was this like really rigid, like masculine, like mantle almost on my, my shoulders. And it was like, keeping me upright. I have finger quotes for those with their eyes closed still. And it just felt very solid. And I was like, okay. And I just kept sitting with it and asking the questions. And then the last question, what do you need from me? Is there something that you want to ask for? All of a sudden, it was like there was this like little face in the rocks, like squished down, like underneath the rocks that peeked out and was like, is it okay? Like, am I going to be okay if I let this go? So yeah, I've just been sitting with
Yeah. And so that's a fear, right? That's like it doesn't exactly present that way, but it's like, can I let it go? I feel kind of afraid. I don't know if I can, or if I could, or if it's okay. If it's okay if I do.
Mhm. I've done this practice with you before, and it's really beautiful doing it in this group setting and having kind of the spaciousness. Because at first, when we were going into it, I was like, oh no, I need more guidance from Saeri. I need to tell her what I'm saying so she can dig deeper with me and help me figure out what's under there. And I just kept being with it. And then, yeah, and then that little face poked out and was just like, am I gonna be okay?
'Cause sometimes it's, yeah, this is best done one-on-one. There may be things that aren't gonna come up or like feel safe enough to come up unless it's in a one-on-one container. And then there's also things that are like that in a group, that it's like, okay, this feels low stakes. Nobody knows. I don't have to tell anybody about it. Thank you, sweetheart. That's such a beautiful share. I love the permission in that, and that being available for witness here. Because a lot of times why we don't even acknowledge our desires is because we auto pressure ourselves to do something about it and to make it happen. And so I love that, just the gentleness of that, like, oh, I have a fear that I don't know if it's okay to let that go. And then, I mean, to me, it just seems like so natural how you can be with that now, is just be like, oh yeah, I don't know if it's okay to let this go. And then there are parts that are like, oh, of course, silly, of course you can let it go. But it's like, oh, but I feel scared. I was like, oh, okay. Like if you're working with like a little one, like a child, like you're not gonna, like, you go, oh, that makes sense. I get that. Okay, you don't have to. It's okay with me if you let it go. I think you would be okay. Like, or I'll be here with you for that. Maybe you feel that way, but maybe you don't. Like, maybe you need a certain level of support before you can engage with that. Like, I've been working on getting a therapist for myself. I got a therapist, and then she goes, I think you better work with somebody else. And she referred me to somebody else, and now I have a new person that I think is actually way more aligned for me, that I'm starting with on Friday. So and there are certain things about like my family and stuff that I'm just they're on the shelf. until I can like get the right kind of support for that. And when it comes up and I'm like, this feels impossible, I don't know how to deal with it, or maybe I should take it to one of my coaches, I'm like, you're talking to Deb on Friday. What can I work with today? You know, and I actually did get through a little bit of that with Craig yesterday, just really naturally, it just came up really organically. So would anybody else like to share?
Sorry, I would love to share if that's okay.
Yes, please.
And I also just I just feel these tears coming up, that your share resonated so deeply. Thank you for that. Thank you for being willing to share that. It was precious. I love this experience of being in a group container. And for me, there were so many little pain points in my body that came up as I was in that space, and they often, and they did today, show up for me as little elemental creatures and little animals, and so as they moved and kind of danced around, I just asked them, I had one at the base of my neck that was really, really stuck in, and we had a pretty ongoing like dialogue, like, what would you like to do? And it was really beautiful. The cord that was going down for me was kind of I don't know, like an elemental rope. It kind of looked like yarn. So when you talked about the knitting, I was like, oh, that was fun. But the one that was really, I had this pain in my shoulder, my right shoulder, that has been a pretty continual thing. And it was like I saw this little tiny dragon poke out from underneath my shoulder blade, this little fiery dragon. And I was like, Tell, it's okay. You can go if you want. You can, what would you like to do? And it was like, really, can I? And I felt this panic in myself of wait, 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 wait. If you leave, what might happen? And I was like, oh. And we just had this conversation, and then this cute little fiery dragon climbed out and was like, okay, I'm gonna go now. Okay, I'm gonna go now.
Oh,
And
it
I
was
was
being
like,
all trauma
okay.
informed with you.
Yeah, it was like afraid to leave me. I could see that it was like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And I was like, yes. And after that, then all of a sudden I could feel that pain in my shoulder come straight through to my heart. And then I realized that the piece of my body that was absolutely silent was my heart. And I could feel pain and all this sensation and communication everywhere, but this was like nothing. And I felt this little girl. And when I felt her in there, that bubble for me became like a womb space. It was very watery. And she said, leave me alone. And I was like, okay, I'll leave you alone. And then she was like, what do you mean you'll leave me alone? And I was like, well, okay, what does that mean to you when you say that? And she's like, nobody's ever asked me that. And I said, okay, when you say alone, what does that mean? And all of a sudden I got this picture of what she meant. And it was not to be by herself, be left alone. It was to be free. And all of a sudden I realized in her little tiny handwriting, she was like 6, that she wrote it out, but she spelled it A-L-L and a space and O-N-E. And I was like, oh, so to be alone for you means to be all one. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so for my whole life, I realized that I've had this massive, intense manifestor energy and this, you know, initiation channel that I just like carry with me everywhere I go. And so it was really, it was just so interesting just to feel this space of like being alone and being all one at the same time. And I don't know. So I'm just, that was a really beautiful. So I appreciate this group container for helping both of those things be possible and present at the same time.
Whew. Thank you. That's such a generous share. Whew. And I'm not a manifester, but I have that same channel of initiation that is the heart and the G center, which is the center. It's about identity, love, and direction, and and this channel is about being first. It's about it's got shock in it. It's got love of all things. That's like the, hey, rocks are people too. And it is a tremendous heart. So that really hit me. I felt the impact when you said that it was the one thing that wasn't feeling on your scan. Like, whoa. And I love how you dialogued with that area and your little girl. That was just, really masterful. I have an idea, Una, I'd just like to put out there. If you might be open to receiving the impact that had on the people here, them witnessing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if there's anybody that would like to share how that impacted them, just so like a little framework to like not make it about Una, but like, how did it impact you? How you felt? Maybe if you have resonance or something similar going inside of you. So would anybody like to share the impact Una had on you?
I can share if nobody else wants to go first. I have a lot of pain in my shoulders too, and my back. And when you're talking about like a little dragon, fiery dragon, I was like, yep, I get that. And I also found that pain in my shoulders and my back was about my heart, and it was about what is like the face of my heart, what I show people, and then what's like behind, like what I'm still holding in there. And so when you shared your connection, it really resonated for me. And that little girl wanting to be alone, 1,000,000,000%. Yeah. There was a really strong manifestor resonance with that. And the ways that we just live, inside this dense aura and are alone, and that being alone actually means being free. And I was just like, Uh-huh. Yeah. All one. Oof. My word for last year was one. It was in a card reading that I did. I did a year spread, and my card in the middle was one. Or maybe it was all one or something about that. And I did so much work last year to like just integrate so much love for myself. So it's like all the things that you said are themes that are like so salient in my life right now, but hearing you share them and knowing that I wasn't alone in that experience and feeling that just impact of you sharing it really like drove it home deeper.
Thank you, sister.
And Nova, you sharing that, I feel this similar, that it's helping me to see that that it's really true that I'm not alone in that, and that I am all one in that. Mm, Thank you.
Mm.
So beautiful.
I feel to speak to what's happening now, because I'm like, okay, like I want to make sure everybody has support, you know, from this call. And I'm like, I'm just kind of like shooting from the hip here with my offerings at the moment with the splenic hit I got yesterday. So I realized that like this dialogue that I've just facilitated with your area is one that I maybe could have with each of you about like, hi, I see you're here. Who brings you here? Is there something that you need from me? And that feedback might help me as I am like saying like how this all works right now. What it is that you know, I'm available if you would like to you know, offer a donation for this. I'm actually like canceling all the PayPal profiles I have for my Trusting It group right now, because it's just PayPal is not working for me. Like the vibes there are and I'm over it. So yeah, so I have Venmo and I have Cash Me right now. And if there's other ways that you would like to have an energetic exchange with me, I am open to that. I'm just like, I'm not putting any limits really, except for that not through PayPal for these kinds of offerings. And I have some, it's appropriate for me to have some kind of group for the people who come to this. I have a group on WhatsApp right now, but I'm not sure I'm going to stay on there. I might end up doing it through Facebook after all. I don't know, but I am curious, like what feels good to you. And some people are like, just wherever you go, Saeri, like I'll hop on, like I have the people who came on WhatsApp and I don't think Una's in that group yet, but she has access to it. So yeah, and if you're like, oh, like I could keep it for a while and people can hop on that group. I do have a private group on Facebook that's been kind of general, and I've had them for programs before, and I like it. Actually, I like having Facebook groups, but I don't know right now. Maybe I'll do Patreon. Anyway, it's just free form. So but you know, anything you want to communicate with me about that, you know, like through email or Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever works for me. And then I also am available for 15 or 30-minute calls if you want to like talk about, like if you're interested in one-on-one work, or if you want to share your feedback with me that way, that totally works. So yeah, I can give you those links. I think I'm just going to post them on my Facebook right now, and just like trust, like if someone starts abusing it, or like some trolls get it or something, I don't know, I'll deal with it then. But right now I might just put them on Facebook. And I think we're all connected on Facebook right now. So I just want to insert that. And then I want to give the opportunity for anybody else who would like to share. And if there's anything you'd like to offer for witness on this recording, you may.
I
Oh, go ahead.
thanks everybody for sharing so far. I find sharing probably a little more awkward, so please excuse me if I kind of trip over myself. I'd like to say thank you. First of all, it's this hour and a half, I think, is the first time in months I've managed to stay out of my mind without struggling to stay out of my mind, without consciously trying not to. So that in itself has been just blissful, to just sit and be, in all honesty. But what came up for me is the pain that I've had has been my heart and my shoulder, under my arm, my left hand side, my chest. And it was after the breakdown of a relationship, which was a long time ago, but this has been kind of hanging around for a long time. And the message I got when I asked was, step back from me and leave me alone, because you can't witness me because you're in me. Get back. And when you ask to put just kind of like the pink vapor around, it wasn't pink vapor, it was like a solid shield. Get back. You're in here, you're meddling, you're making a mess, and you're making me worse. Yeah, and it was a kind of a stop, almost like you're killing me with trying to feel this with me, witness me, but stay back. And it was it's anger. It's not what I thought it was. I thought it was emotional hurt from the relationship, but it's almost like an anger towards myself for not giving it enough space to move through my body, holding it inside by giving it so much attention that it can't get out. So yeah, I'm kind of a little stunned and surprised at what's come out of it, really. Because all of the work that I've been doing is feel your feelings, you know, and it's like, yeah, don't feel me, observe, watch, notice, witness me, but get out of feeling me, because you're holding me inside. So yeah, a huge thing for me. Thank you.
Wow. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much. That is, I mean, my hairs are like up on end.
It's only now, actually, I feel the emotion behind it. Yeah, all of the time it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, okay. But now I feel,
well, and it's like it frees you up to actually feel what's helpful to feel.
Yeah,
yeah. Projection of what you should be feeling and what you should do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's massive permission in that. And it's like the opposite of what you would think, right? With a shield coming up, but it actually gives you access to the information that you need.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can't acknowledge what's going on because you're in here. You're in here feeling it so much that you're not witnessing, acknowledging, and allowing it through. You're just stuck in it.
It's like helicopter parenting.
Yes. I have been a helicopter parent to my pain.
Whoa, that's massive.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Now I have this great visual of me helicopter parenting. It's like,
You need this.
yes, that's even more. Thank you.
Back off.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. And I have, I have this tremendous heart. It's very intense to have, and also for other people to be with. So like I developed that helicopteriness about it, like, oh, my heart's really intense. Like, but one of the things for me that really freed me up is to just be like, I walk with a broken heart. Like this thing is cracked open and it hurts gloriously. Like it is just like, this is my gift. There's nothing wrong. That's the way it is. To stop judging it, that something's wrong with it, and that I need to fix it.
Yeah.
It's appropriate. Yeah. Thank you. And Emily, I saw you unmuting there in tandem with Beth.
Yeah, I really just love the gentleness of the whole process. There was no pressure through it. And that's something that I am uncomfortable with, is pressure. So when I allow myself to just be gentle and, just hello and be curious, versus getting all up in your own space, I guess. And I was kind of surprised at how my journey went, because I came in not really with anything set, just allowing the universe to take me wherever it went. And I was surprised too at, like, when I went to my inner world, like the emotions of like this deep gratitude for my connection with the earth, and just like the beauty I seen there with nature all around me, and looking up through the trees at the sky, while simultaneously tuning into my roots. And throughout the whole process, my roots, as my cord, my roots, like tree roots, grew deeper as the process went on. And it was like I was a tree that was literally growing and expanding high above, kind of like you said, the redwoods, like in that way. So it was a really beautiful experience to tune into that, and then travel along and see what else, get curious about what else there was. And I did feel like when we were searching for the spot that was calling to us, I have like this sea urchin type spike in between my shoulders. And a couple times when I asked myself what I need, it's just like, I need to connect to the earth. I need to go out and get nude in nature and just lay flat in the earth and let it like release, and let all of that just return and transform into something beautiful, alchemize all of the pain and all of the things that doesn't feel right for my body, just let that absorb into the earth. So I'm looking forward to some nature time today, to just let it flow and refresh my spirit. And I had to think back to this morning when I pulled my earth magic card as well. The card was purification and rain, like rain and purification, and it's a rainy day, so I figured it's perfect to go out and get some earth magic time for me and just purify my spirit and my body today. So thank you. It's been beautiful to spend this time with you.
Thank you. You blessed me in this space with your presence, and bringing your man, bringing the man, the only man on this call. And I want to say that I am like in such a precise same place with you about nature. It's been raining a lot here, and I drove by, this swollen creek in the redwoods the other day, and I was like, I want to get naked and I want to stand in that water, and I want someone to take a picture of me. I had a photo shoot years ago when I was teaching yoga with a friend of mine, and it was, in the winter, and at the Laguna de Sebastopol, there were like lots of these big swampy puddles. And the last picture that we took, I just laid down in it. And she took a picture of me.
That's beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was so fun, and the picture is so great. I'll have to dig it out. But I want to take some fresh ones like that. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. And
I
get
love the connection that we can feel when we just shed out of, kind of like it's almost a shedding of our skins when we can go out into nature and be nude and not have anything as a barrier between us and nature. It's almost a feeling of being in the womb again for me.
Yeah. And I have found cold to be so healing. And, when I can work with it, it makes me expand my awareness to breathe. It makes me breathe. And then also just consciously notice where I'm like, oh, I'm cold, and I'm gripping my body. And it's like, can I just relax in the cold? And then it totally transforms my experience of it. And it's actually quite psychedelic. So I'm like a big fan of like getting in cold water and being out in the rain, and
So healing.
yeah. Danny, thank you so much for being here. And I want to acknowledge just like what a feminine call this is, and all these females sharing, and that, you're going to be in a different way than each of us. My boyfriend and I we've been talking about doing some things together. So maybe one day we'll have, and he leads men's work in our community. So maybe one day we'll have that representation and the leadership on a call. But I just want to see if there's anything you would like to say, and you absolutely don't have to say anything.
I just want to say thank you for holding this space for me today. It was beautiful. It was magical. I'm not much of a talker in a group setting, so it was beautiful. I learned a lot. I know what I need to keep doing. I just have to make it a priority.
Awesome. That's so wonderful. I could feel you, and when I would look at you, you just looked very deep, like you went really deep. So thank you for your presence. And
You're welcome.
thank you, everybody. Okay, does anybody have any questions before we depart? Okay, well, we are complete for this call, this journey today. And oh, you have something, Beth?
No, I was just kind of taking off, ready to say thank you.
Oh,
For the
okay.
intro.
So we're complete for today. And feel free to reach out. I'm available. I love you. I love to connect with you. And I'm open to your feedback as I navigate however the heck I show up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good night,
bye-bye.
all. Bye.
Bye.